Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey chapter
468.
It is the first day of the week, aka the Kamehameha workout. I'm feeling very good right now. I'm very excited for this workout. But anyway, the main subject matter for today. Horny for Tuah. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because I was watching the latest season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia recently, and they made a joke about the Tuah girl because, of course, they have to try to stay somewhat relevant in today's modern world. But they made a joke about it. It was somebody that was supposed to be like the Tuah girl, and it was just Frank being openly like horny. She was horny for whatever the fuck her name was, and then it got me thinking horny for Tuah, and then that got me thinking of the idea of people openly wanting women on the internet. And I think that this is just a funny ass subject because you see this all the time. It's not very rare where you'll find heart eyes emojis under certain posts or things like that of the sort of nature. It just happens, especially if there are women on screen. There are a lot that come from a certain country out in the East Asian continent. I'm looking directly at you, India, but at the same time, that's kind of a different story, and there's a reason to that. We'll talk about that later. But the open want, I guess, is the best way to describe it, is somewhat insane. So in today's episode, we're going to be looking at that, the type of person who does it, whether it's good or bad, because I have my personal thoughts on it, and I can tell you what it is already, but you could probably figure that out relatively easily, and why, So we're going to be looking at all of that, probably poking a lot of fun at people specifically that do this, and why it's only weird when it's coming from one side and not the other. But we'll talk about all of that when we get to Mother Base. Alright, so started this day off with dips, which are pretty good, but anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. Horny for Tuah. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because this was a good joke that was happening in It's Always Sunny, but also as well, it just reminds me that this happens quite a bit. I think that there are certain places of the world that you see more of this way more openly, India and other third world countries, let me be honest, where people will comment things like heart eyes emojis and heart and or so beautiful, come to Brazil, those types of things all the time to these women on the internet. And it's a very interesting dynamic, or at least I guess it's more of a dog, what are you doing type of thing. And I will get to the women's side of this in a second, but I think first for the dudes who for some reason do this, I think it's very interesting to see the open simping, the open thirstiness on the internet. Like, the internet does not forget. And also people can see that you aren't using some burner account. We know you have a wife and kids. What are you doing? And there's a difference between saying something like this and actually supporting the person that you're actually watching. Let's say they just happen to be a female content creator and they happen to be good looking, but also that isn't necessarily the first thing that they're going for, of course. Then maybe, you don't want to say, hey, beautiful, you're looking great today. Something like that, where it's just like, oh, brother, come on now. And it's a very weird dynamic, especially nowadays when things like Twitch and Kick exist, because they are examples of something where the parasocial aspect of relationships can take over, where people will feel naturally able to say something like this because those types of content breeds that. But we'll get back to that in a second. I think that this open lusting for women is just a crazy thought to me personally. I think that even doing something like this in the real world, let's say sans social media, would be insane. It's like a weird, chill, like talk to the person type of idea. Now, of course, I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't work, because surprisingly enough, it does work. But for 99% of the dudes who do it, it doesn't work because it's so open and brazen, and just, you're not the type of guy that can get away with it most, like 90% of the time. And I think that that's the thing that's very interesting, is that they don't realize that. I feel like those who do it don't realize it doesn't work, and it's a very rare thing for it to even work, though it can in very, very, very small frequencies and doses. But then again, it also depends on the person who's doing it, because there are women who feed off of this type of stuff, who understand that this is what the engagement that they want with the content that they're making. So then that way they can get people to engage with it, and then thus growing their platform even more, which at the end of the day, I'm not necessarily too against, but at the same time, I can't help but looked down upon because of course it is in essence a predatory like thing. But of course, because it's a woman, it's kind of like, of course, that's what they're going to do. It's what they can use, right? But I can't necessarily fault them for that. But at the same time, I will be looking down upon you because you're using your sexuality in such a way to ensnare men in order to try to basically succubus demon their energy away from them. But that's kind of a different story for a different day. This one, I'm looking at the men mostly who would like to sit there and comment hard eyes emojis on women's. It's just a certain level of shame that needs to go on both ends of the spectrum, but a lot for the dudes, because it's like, brother, you can keep it in the pants. You can support someone without having to say these next level cringe things. And it's not like, you can't necessarily say that, but also if things are live on forever on the internet, so people are going to make fun of you forever and hold this against you at all times. It's something akin to a cringe moment that is forever etched in history. It's like you're building your own epitaph of cringe, really. And it's just so interesting. And it speaks to the power of lust, where you could believe that commenting something like this could say something to them. Like all of a sudden, oh, you're the random comment that changed my mind about something. Or, you're X, Y, or Z that's making me change my life. When in reality, you're nothing to them but just a number to help them grow, really, and probably a disgusting person. They're already probably assuming you're gross. They don't care about you. And that's part of the issue with a parasocial platform that happens with current social media, where people think they're your friends because you happen to post and happen to know little small intimate details about your life, hell, even intimate parts of your body, really, about, of each person. And then they get misconstrued with the idea that this person is a friend of mine. I am a friend of theirs, and where could we go except for up with friendship, right? That's how the predatory nature of parasocial relationships work, where you believe that you're going to get more from this relationship. And it's sad to have both sides really falling for it. But for the dudes, I mean, come on, this is such a keep it in the pants, brother, and keep it to yourself. And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed or none. Exercises skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand. Horny for Tuah. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss this is because this is just a phenomena that happens regardless of time, really. I think that this has been a thing for such a long time, especially when social media began, and, anonymous things probably were more common, but nowadays they're not as common, and also the amount of people that are actually on the internet is ubiquitous now. So it's definitely a lot more pronounced nowadays, particularly when you see people actively saying certain things for certain people. It's kind of interesting when you see it, especially when it's somebody it's kind of like come on, brother, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like a certain level of cringiness. Now, I'm not going to say I am not guilty of cringy things, obviously. There are things that I will say and do, hell, even on this channel, that people will consider cringe. I'm not above that, but at the same time, this is one of those things that I can't imagine myself doing / being so outwardly like hard eyes emoji, all this other stuff, which is just a whole other level. They're always like older dudes, there's always there's a specific phenotype for this type of dude that just exists out there, which is a very interesting thing to even contemplate on, is as if the phenotype itself lends to the whatever, fuck it, I'm shooting my shot type of ideal. Now, obviously, this also just completely evaporates when seeing the person in public, because of course that's a whole other story for a whole other day. But when it comes to online, people with an anime profile picture will shoot their shot just because they can, and they will. The anonymity of things will go on, but also as well, the unanonymity of it makes it so it's kind of like, brother, we can see you're married with 3 kids. What are you doing? There's a whole other level of just insanity when you have a situation like that. Hell, there are people out there that do that shit with like their wives as their profile picture or some shit like that in their profile picture. It's an insane thing to even think about. But at the same time, there has to be a level of which it works in a weird way. There has to be like at least a 1 out of 100 chance, maybe out of 1,000 realistically, or 1,000,000 even, that it works. But really, is it worth the shot? Is the embarrassment / the, oh man, what are you doing, worth the entire, like the entire shot? Insert Steph Curry trying to shoot from the moon. It's like, I don't know. Obviously, there are people who will do it for content purposes. That's just a subgenre of content. It's not necessarily even true. But but it's just more for the people that are genuine about it, who are actually saying something, and not to disparage those who are actually just complimenting someone on the internet. But then again, you can't really do that, because realistically, behind the scenes of that, you know that they are the Steph Curry meme in this case. They are trying to shoot a shot that is impossible, basically. And I think that's the main reason why it's so cringe, is because of the fact that it's so, it's not anything really. It's more of a like, you have said something that has made me think of you less. And it's not like I necessarily know exactly people who do this, but I've known a couple, it's happened every once in a while. And obviously this is completely different than other services, which is a whole other discussion, which we will talk to about a different day. But like, this one is more of a weird, I hate using this term, but simping for someone. And I don't want to disparage those types of people fully, but at the same time, there's definitely a couple of screws loose in their head, obviously. And I think that doing it in such an openly way, especially when it's specifically vulgar, there is also a level of vulgarity for some reason that there is also upon this, which is always fascinating, as if these people like it. It's like people who send out dicks, which we'll talk about that in a different story as well. But that just alone is just so astonishing to me, that they would think that they are some type of Adonis, that they could just say these borderline vulgar things to people, and then all of a sudden, hey, I'm into that. Even publicly, it would be kind of crazy to even like admit any of that, so it's a very interesting dynamic when you see it, and worse if you know the person, because then you're like, you should have a discussion. So with that being said, though, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. If you have a story of somebody that that ends up doing this type of shit, please let me know. And please let me know that story in the comment section down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy, stay safe out there, and stay warm, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.